So here's kind of a follow-up after a while of using this unit, and just some questions I've had. Maybe anybody else that has this unit would be able to answer. My goal was to be able to just plug my guitar into this unit and then come out of it and go straight to front of house, simply on times when that was necessary to do, and you couldn't bring an amp or a pedal board or whatever, and I know for a fact that it's designed to be able to go and do that, as well as go direct into a DAW, because it has cab simulation built into it. It's got an editor that comes with it. When I've done that, the presets that come with this are good for clean, real clean, heavily affected with the choruses and the verbs and all that, or the super, to me, high gain sounds translate into headphones and into the DAW and even into a PA pretty well, just as is. But for me, as a more blues sounding, I struggle to find that for my personal taste. The distortion characteristic is very high gain, and to my ears, to my touch, and the drive isn't crunchy enough, and so you got to figure out a way to use them together, at least for trying to get the sound out of them in my head. It's been challenging, and so what I began doing is, all right, well, let me go to third-party IRs. Well, first, obviously, I inserted an EQ after the distortion, and I'm not using hardly any EQ. It's a little bit of, a little dip down at the 200 just to clear out a little bit of the bottom mids, and not much EQ. And I might mess with that a little bit more aggressively, but I try to leave that as just as a kind of to clean it up, get some of that low end and low mids out of the sound before it hits the modulation and delay section. And then of course it hits the cab sim, and I'm using third-party cab sims from Celestion, and they all have their own character, but what really allowed me to get my tone, the tone I was looking for in my head all along, was by running it into the Mooer radar and bypassing everything here, not using this as an IR loader, which it can do, but just using the tube, the power amp sim in here. And this is a 6v6, and it gives you some parameters, input, presence, and output. With those settings and with this engaged, it just changed the whole character of the sound in my headphones and to what I was looking for. And then I come out of this, and I'm just going into the Line 6 X3 Pro to use the headphone amp out. There's no processing or being applied. None of that is being used in there, and that's what's made the difference to me. So I'm not using the cab sim or the EQ in the Mooer, just the power amp sim. And there's the Cerberus software with the cab I got in there, a V30 112. I think it's the 42157 low gain cab, and that sounds fantastic in my headphones. But maybe somebody that has this can also comment on what occurred to me is, because I have the manual and I don't read anything in there about, for me it's like, well, where is the preamp stage and the tone stack? Because one of the things that I've run into, if you just were using this by itself, which is of course what I originally wanted to do, there's no master volume. the only control you have on output is going to come from your boost, your guitar, or having to have the distortion or drive engaged and using the level knobs. That's it as far as I could find. So that can be kind of problematic. Say you're not using the distortion or drive. Well, how do you turn the output up? Well, you can, and I've got this boost programmed. You can turn the boost on, and there's a variable pot in the back that gives you, like, I think it's up to 20 dB of boost. It's a lot. So, that's doable, but, then it occurred to me, and that was limiting, because, there would be a point where, like, I would get a good overdriven sound in my, what I was kind of looking for, but I needed more level. The boost was too hot, too much level, even at its lowest setting, and there's just no real way to turn it up. And then you can start clipping the output going to the headphones, so it's kind of complicated. What happens is, by taking it into that radar, I have a master volume with that red knob. You can basically come here, hit this, and there's your master output. You can control the output now going to house. So those are just, for me, using this live, there would be no doubt that I've been playing with it for several months now. But then we lost our bass player, so I had to jump on bass. And so just as soon as I was getting ready to start going out live using this, I started playing bass. So I haven't had this out again. But this is probably what I would take. I would take this unit. But the question I ask is, anybody can answer this, is it assumed that there's a preamp, capability? And if so, where's the tone stack? Obviously I've introduced my own, the EQ, but if the idea is that you take this out by itself, where's your tone stack? And then, before the cab modeling, or the IRs, is there any kind of a filter or model of a power amp that ultimately is then sent out to your front of house or to your DAW? And those are questions I don't have answers to. I can tell you this, even if there is assumed to be some sort of compensation for a power amp and the output, when I engage the actual power amp sim that's in that bad boy, and I think there's 4 of them. There's EL34s, 84s, 6L6s, and 6V6s. Man, all of a sudden I was like, okay, I like this now. I really, really dig it. I got the tone I'm looking for in my head. So anyways, that's just for what it's worth.